Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to today's section. So, we are having our guest speaker here, Sophia. She's a senior technical writer at Twitter. So, she'll be telling us more about, information architecture design and topic writing. So, guys, let us all welcome Sophia to join us today. Thank you, Sophia, for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope uh, most of the people are in.
Yeah, they'll be joining soon.
Okay. I will start sharing my screen and we will see everything is going well. So I'll be looking at both sides because I'm using my screen to share.
Yeah, sure.
So, okay. Is it okay if I start now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me here with me. My name is Sophia. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. I hope you can see my screen, information architecture and topic-based writing. Can you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all good. So my name is Sophia, and I'm a senior technical writer at Twitter. I focus on internal developer documentation. I have been a writer for technical writers specifically for more than 10 years. My specializations are data, topic-based writing, developer documentation, and coaching and mentoring. Today, we will talk more about how to write efficiently by using the principles of information architecture and topic-based writing. We'll move to our first topic, information architecture. So what is information architecture? It's about making the content usable and readable. First and foremost, it's very important that you know your audience, who your audience are, and who will be using the content. And then based on that, you arrange your content in a logical way, in a structured way, giving it proper headings. That way, the headings are self-explanatory, and then arrange information in a proper way that is not actually breaking the flow of information. For example, you tell whatever they have to know first as the first thing, and then second, and the third thing, instead of mixing everything up. We will go into the details of these examples in the coming slides. Now that you have some idea about information architecture, we will deep dive into topic-based writing. So, do you have some idea about topic-based writing? What is it? You can actually leave messages in the chat box. I would love to see that, your responses. That way we can interact more and I can answer your question at the end too. So, topic-based writing is writing based on the content type. You arrange the content on the basis of the type of the content, which comes to the point, what is a topic, right? So the definition for a topic is an independent chunk of information that covers a single idea or task. What are the different kind of topics? You might have already heard about these: concepts, tasks, and reference. These are the types of topics that we use on a regular basis, but there are so many other, depending on the organization you work for, depending on the audience that you write for. There could be many more types of topics, but more or less many of them would fall into one of these if you dig deep down to the content type in those topics. So let's go in detail about concept topic. So conceptual information provides background information that will help you to do some task or know about a product. That way you can use the product or learn about the product or any descriptive information that you might need to understand before you jump into doing something. Let's take an example for a beginner. Let's say authoring in Markdown is the topic that you want to write. So now, when you think about it, there are so many concepts around it. The writer might want to know, what is Markdown? What do we talk about in the concept topic? We'll see the details here. So in the concept topic, it consists of background information for a user to understand about a product or processes so that they can use the product or learn more about it. So we break down topic into paragraphs, which actually form sections. And we also use unordered list. We don't use ordered list in a concept topic. We'll discuss about that in the other slides, coming slides. But just keep in mind that we don't usually use ordered list, which is numbered list within a concept topic. So let's take the example of authoring in Markdown once again. What could potentially be a good concept topic for authoring in Markdown? It could be Markdown, introduction to Markdown, Markdown overview, etc. And this topic will give the first-time user of Markdown language some idea what this language is about and when can you use it, why would you use it, etc. So next would be the task topic. So task topic will give information on how to do something. Using the same example of authoring in Markdown, a task topic could be create a new Markdown file. Because before we author anything, we have to create a new file. And it also depends on which tool you use, what is the knowledge level of the user of the topic, etc. And a task topic usually consists of procedural steps, which will help you to perform a task. And then it could also be stages of a very high level process. For example, you are explaining a huge task of publishing in Markdown. So you can probably write your content in Markdown, then use a version control to create versions of the topic, then publish using a tool. So these are high-level steps in the process of publishing content written using Markdown. So we use tasks for that too, in which each of the steps would actually link to subtask. So it will come as another set of procedure within a procedure. These are often called super procedures as well. So this can also be considered as a task topic. We use a numbered list mostly in task topics. I mentioned earlier, avoid using numbered list or ordered list in concept topics. Use that in task topic instead. So what does the task topic have? So it will have a title, and then it will also have a before you begin part where you talk about what you should know before doing something. And there will be procedure, which includes steps within it, which actually comes in numbered list. And then once the procedure is done, you can probably give an example task. If the task itself is very hard to follow, you can probably give an example on how you can achieve this considering certain situation. So that will make it easy for the user to follow the steps within the original procedure. And then the next step would be if there is anything that the user should do as the next step, you can include that as well. So that's about task topic. In all of the topics, it's a good idea or it's a good practice to include a related topic section, which will have the list of information that will give you additional information for you to know more about it, know more about the tool, to gather extra information, to do advanced studies, etc. So next is reference topic. Taking the example of Markdown, it could be a table of Markdown markup syntax, which are the syntax options that you have within Markdown and what it does to the text and all of that. So it can come in a table. Usually most of the reference topics contain tables, field descriptions, command descriptions, etc. And then this usually gives additional information or helpful information that you can combine with a task topic or concept topic to make it more relevant or more useful. Now, you have some idea about the topic types. I will repeat the types of topics: concepts, task, and reference. Now, the content that goes in each of these topics are very well defined. But how do we write that? That way we are following the global guidelines of these topics. That's why we use templates. Each of these topics follow certain templates, even though they change depending on the organization, but it doesn't change drastically. Globally, there are a few accepted standards for these topics. We will go with the first template, concept topic. So in concept template, let me ask this question. What could be a potential concept topic for a new user or a new technical writer who is learning Markdown language, and then you ask them, okay, I want to see a new file written in Markdown, which is actually, I want you to author something in Markdown. What could be a potential concept topic? You can leave answers in the chat box. I'll have a look later, but to save time, I'll continue with the presentation. It could be.
We have one question in the chat.
I'll take all the questions at the end, and yeah, beginner guide to Markdown would be a really good example for that. And I have a similar example here, which is Introduction to Markdown. So that's the main part of the title of the topic, which doesn't have any kind of gerund, which means ing form of a verb, which is actually about the tool or the product or the page that you are going to write about. So there are a few other things that you may want to consider here. When you talk about the concept, you can ask these questions. Who are the audience? Are these audience, for example, writers, well versed with the markup languages, the concept of markup languages? Do they have any idea about the tools that they author Markdown in? Do I have to tell them about that? Which could be various options. In my example, I'm assuming that what are the few options out there to author in Markdown. For example, Atom, IntelliJ, Visual Studio, any kind of code editors. You can use any of them to author in Markdown. So I have assumed that this person knows it. And on the basis of that, I have put a few notes together to show an example of a template. So now here you have introduction to Markdown. Then you have overview section, which will talk what is Markdown. And then this will define what is the Markdown language and when can you use it, etc. Whatever is useful as a first read. Then we would go to the next section. What are the benefits of using Markdown? How is that different from data authoring in data or using Word or similar kind of tools that you have used in the past or the languages that you have used in the past? You will list them. And it's always better to use an introductory sentence and list out the benefits in an unordered or bulleted list. One thing to make sure is when you use unordered list, make sure you follow parallelism in the list. So another one would be, now we don't see Markdown as this ultimate solution for all of our writing problems, especially it is not what you see is what you get kind of editor tool. So what are the limitations? We may want to mention that because the limitations will help the writer decide, is this the right tool for me? Is this the right language for me to use? Is this what I want to use to document my use case? So limitations are very important. That gives them idea and an option to explore into larger area of technical writing tools and options. One of them would be restructured text, And there's so many other options. Some use XML data authoring. So you can actually look into those options and see which one is the best for you. And again, I would go with, sorry, I jumped to the next slide. So I would go with some related resources, which could be the task topic that will come in another section, the reference topic that would come in another section. And then there are so many other GitHub repositories, which gives you lots and lots of information about using Markdown and authoring your first file, etc. So you could link to any of those resources, internal or external, within the related resources page. Give me a second to fix my small technical glitch here. I think it's okay now. Okay, so we'll move on to task template. Task template also has a topic title. So every topic must have a topic title. So what is the speciality about the topic title of a task? It should contain a verb. So now let's take an example of creating a Markdown file. You should either say create a Markdown file or creating a Markdown file or creating Markdown files. In the first two examples, I have used a singular form of Markdown file. And in the third one, I have used the plural. That's okay. It depends on the guidelines of your organization. I have used both in my career. So another one is create or creating. I would actually go with creating, which is a gerund form of the verb, but there are so many organizations which actually lean towards create, which is a simple present tense. For your title, always use title case. Don't use sentence case, which means you capitalize the first letter in each word in the title, unless otherwise your organization says differently. And it should also be about what you're going to do. It shouldn't be like Markdown documentation or something like that, very random topic title. It should be very specific to what you're going to write. As you can see, the topic title in here is authoring in Markdown. But as you can see below, I plan to talk about creating a Markdown file. So in this template, you can see a mistake. I purposefully put it there. You can leave the comment in the chat box. What could be the possible mistake in using authoring in Markdown here as a topic title? I'll explain. One is you're not actually talking about authoring in Markdown. Authoring in Markdown actually includes so many steps, which is not as simple as creating a new Markdown file. And in here, what I want to tell people is how do you create Markdown file? So I should be very explicit about what I'm going to tell the readers. So I should actually use creating a new file in Markdown. Okay, so this title, as someone said in the chat box, authoring in Markdown would confuse the reader. The reader would expect the whole procedure of authoring in Markdown within this task. So moving on to the next portions of task topic, you should always write what this topic is about. So when if I fix the title to creating a new file in Markdown, you can say about this topic is about how to create a new Markdown topic. If you're writing for a specific tool, for example, Atom, say this is about creating a new Markdown file in Atom or in any editing tools or anything in any code editor, or, for example, Atom, IntelliJ, Visual Studio, etc. So you can write depending on the requirement. You should first understand what is the requirement, and then you can actually write according to that. Next is, before you begin, what are a few things that you should know before you start creating a Markdown tool? One is, before you start creating a Markdown tool, one could be you should have any of the editors if you are not specific about one, right? So it should be ensure that you have a code editing tool, or ensure that you have installed Atom on your machine. So it could be any of this depending on the requirement again. And next portion is procedure. What do you do as the first step? What would you do? You would actually open the tool, and next would be go to file, click new, and then you name the file. You say, so your steps would go in that order as you go doing each of them. One thing you should do when you write task is, you should never write it blindly. You should actually try doing it and then write those steps down to make sure that you actually follow the actual steps when someone does it without actually assuming, okay, this could be it, because in almost every tool, you go to file and create a new file, right? Now, getting a bit deeper into each element. One element is step. So what can a step contain? A step should have one single action item, which should start with purpose, then location, and then action. I'll share the slide so you can make a note of it later, which means to create a new topic, which is the purpose, in the editor, which is the location, click File, New, which is actually the action. Below that can be a step example or step information, which means more information about the step, or an example for the step. And then you can also write step result between that. You can include information in that order. It should be additional information, step example, then step result, or whichever you find relevant for the user to know first. And then once you're done with writing all the steps, you can actually put what could be possible next step. So for someone who has created in a markdown file, for that person, the next possible step could be writing or creating content within the markdown file and using the syntax, right? Just like I said previously, related resources would provide internal and external links to internal and external resources, which might add more information and helpful information to whatever you're writing. So reference template, just like we already discussed, it provides additional information that will help you to do a task or understand more about a concept. So let's use the same example. Here, the topic title should be self-explanatory, and don't use gerund here, but make it a simple present and self-explanatory. I'm using Markdown syntax here. I'll provide an overview, what is Markdown syntax, and then I will use a table to provide the list of syntax. So I have an example here. Syntax and output are the two fields in here. Bold with two asterisks on both sides will actually give you a bold letter in Markdown. For italics, you use only one asterisk, and it will give you italic output in Markdown. So you can actually include those syntax in a table, and that is called reference topic. So that's all about topics and topic types and topic templates and elements within each topic type. You can learn more and boost up your career by looking into the different topics that I have mentioned here. Even though it's not so much related to my topic today, I think it's in a way adding value to the topic that we discussed. So using extended topic types, for example, there could be run books, cookbooks, recipes. I would call all of them reference topics, but some organizations prefer to define them as different topics with different templates. Then different markup languages, we kept talking about Markdown. So I wanted to touch a little bit on restructured text, which is also a thing these days. Task-based writing is many organizations follow task-based writing, where you have so many UX documentation. You go with task-based writing because user first goes to the task that will help them. Then combining everything that I spoke with GitHub technology would be delivering documentation as a code, which is also much required skill in the market in technical writers industry. Now that you have the content ready, you have version control, you have everything, and you want to push everything onto a website, that's where continuous integration and deployment jobs come into play. So all of these things together is how we cater our readers with the with the useful content and great content. That's all about today's presentation. I hope it was helpful. I'll move into Q&A. You can ask me one by one, or you can leave your questions in the chat box. I'll try to answer as much as I can. Or I'm always on LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to reach out with any question or any mentorship request if you want to learn more about these things. Happy to be helpful. So I have a question here from David. Is writing about a tool reference-based writing? No, because if you're writing about a tool, you're actually providing information for a user so that that person can use the tool, right? So so let's break the concept down. You're writing about a tool. What are you going to write there? You're going to write or answer the questions. What is this tool about? What are the features? What are the limitations? When can someone use it, right? So where does this content go? It goes in a concept topic. But if you are actually giving, so you have a tool and then it has a home page and there are a few fields which has some UI labels. And if you are actually explaining them in a page, then that's actually helping someone with additional information to use the UI screen. So that's where it becomes a reference topic. You understand the difference? Is article writing still technical writing? If we are going to define technical writer in a very wide aspect, then could be, but I would say blog. Any best practices, starting tips for migrating topic-based from 15 writers with thousands? Okay, so if your content is not already in a topic-based fashion, one thing is applying information architecture to break down your content into chunks. See which information is conceptual, which is task, which is reference, and then grouping them together. See what are the repetition patterns. And then if you're looking for easy way, I don't think there is any easy way, but there are so many scripts out there which will actually help you write task topics and put your information within the template. If you have prototype, I think it's easy to develop those scripts too. I have done the same job of migrating 10,000 pages, and I actually ended up creating 8 documents out of them, in which three were reference and a few user guides and a few conceptual documents. So it's how you apply these techniques. Would I be right to categorize writing in GitHub's README file of a project as concept topic? No, README in GitHub has a very different purpose. It tells you about how to use the repository, for what, and all the related information. It's not a concept topic. It's actually a reference topic which will help you use that repository. It's a best practice not to include way too much information in README and just give high-level information that will help you to navigate through the repo and understand the purpose of repo. Any other way of chunking? For reference, you can use, there could be recipes, cookbooks, deployment guides were one, which is neither a reference but no task. Because deployment jobs are not additional information when you think about deployment jobs, but they are not even a part of task topic because they are not performing anything. So monitoring them would be a different use case altogether. So that's a different kind of information. But to give you more in-depth detail about the content type, we'll really have to see what your organization requirements are, who your audience are, and what is the context. So from there, I would take next steps, and then I would put templates, and it's basically on repeated patterns. If you have a certain pattern repeated and which doesn't fall in concept, reference, or task, yeah, go ahead and have a template for that particular one. I'll move to next question. Sophia, do organization give technical writers? Okay, so if they don't have, so many organizations don't have the bandwidth to put their own guidelines in place. That's when we go with the global standards. If that's the case, you can actually pick concept, task, and reference as 3 topics. And then if that's not it, if you have more internal documentation which contains way too much information, which are actually primarily important for someone to know, but looks like reference, then you might have to look through the whole content and find if that's the case across the organization. And if that's the case, it's ideal to actually define a template for that kind of information. In my current job, I do that a lot because there are so many different kind of topics that we use, which usually don't fall to any of the topic types, but it's a very important piece of information. And then the same kind of topic you can see across different organizations within the company, and they use it for specific purpose. So determine what the purpose are, determine who the audience are. It could be developers, backend developers, DevOps. So their requirements are very different, and the level of technical knowledge that you must have to document those content are also different. So it's up to you how you decide. Keep in mind, our goal is to have a common pattern across documentation. That way, it gives unified voice and organizational look when an outsider sees the doc. So it's not my document, your document, his document, her document. It's a company's document. That should be the main goal while creating these templates, which comes as additional requirement than the existing ones. I hope I answered. I was rushing through because I wanted to finish on time, but feel free to contact me over LinkedIn if you have more questions. Happy to answer any questions, related ones.
All right, so Sophia, if you can drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat, so that'll make it much easier for them. So while she's trying to get her LinkedIn profile, so any other question, you can drop it in the chat. Okay, so Norma will say thank you, Sophia. So let's sort out Sophia so far for her time. Yeah.
I'll share my slides.
Yeah, I've shared that already to them before now. So
yeah, okay. So in my slide, my name in the first slide is my LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Okay, I have to. Why can't I go to my
So Sophia, I can take the chat. They are appreciating you for your time.
Give me a second. I'm sorry, I'm doing this in a very wrong way, but as you can see, if you click on this, this goes to my profile. Okay. So this is my profile.
Yeah. So just copy the URL and paste in the chat so it will be easier for them to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll just copy paste. Happy to be helpful.
All right. So you can.
This is my LinkedIn profile.
All right.
Thank you so much. I just hope I have been useful and it's been helpful. I wish you all the best and so much growth in your career.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Sophia, today for coming, and we are so much happy, and we're still having people joining us up till now. They are still coming up till now. All right, sorry, Juliet, you came late. Anyways, we'll have the recording after this call. I'll put it on my YouTube channel and I will share it for everybody to watch. And I'll also send the link to Sophia too, so you can also share it across. All right, thank you guys for coming. We so much appreciate your time, Sophia. It was